I'd love to introduce you to our speaker. Stephanie, a soul igniter, specializes in empowering women to align with their soul's purpose and navigate impactful paths. As a soul alignment specialist and former educator, she guides individuals to tap into their presence, purpose, and potential, moving away from the hustle culture towards soul-aligned living. Utilizing her expertise in nervous system regulation, breathwork, and energy healing, Stephanie helps clients overcome limitations and embrace their true essence. She enriches the personal and professional growth of heart-centered entrepreneurs with her diverse skills, including certifications in somato-respiratory integration, motivational speaking, and sound bowl healing. Recognized as the Extraordinary Speaker of the Year in 2022, Stephanie also applies her educational background as a social and emotional specialist in a prominent Colorado school district, training fellow educators in social and emotional healing. This role earned her the nomination as Denver's 7 Everyday Heroes. Living by the practices she advocates, Stephanie guides entrepreneurs to embrace beingness for greater flow and success. Her commitment to integrating heart and soul into life and business helps others find fulfillment and success on their journeys. Stephanie is just also one of my favorite people. I met her for the first time at her own birthday party. I got invited to it and fell in love with her. So that said, I'd love to hand it over to Stephanie.
Thank you so much for having me, Lizzie. And it's so good to be with you all, fellow educators. It is my first talk that I'm actually speaking to educators outside of the profession when I did training. So it's just an honor to be here. And my intention, I just really want you to hear my intention. It is just to really speak to your heart and really help you make that transition from teaching to business. And I'm just curious, and I know a lot of you are already like well into your business. Would you let me know in the chat how long you have been in your current business, or if you're just starting? I'd love to just see where everyone's at, just so I can even tailor it towards 5 years. Awesome. 6. Oh, you guys are just such great veterans. Beautiful. 2. Awesome. 5. Beautiful. Cool. So I'm going to start part-time for over a year. Thank you so much. Megan, I love that you're all here. So I am going to just start talking a little bit about my experience, and then my intention is to really move towards the business aspect. How do we transition from teaching, even if we've been out for a long time? How do we take those skill sets? How do we apply them to our current business? How do we let that heart really guide us through? So I always say I went from, teaching for 22 years. I'll just share that a little bit. So I taught first grade, I taught third grade, but really what I did underneath it all, I was always teaching the heart. So the practices that I was teaching my students was somato practices, breath work practices, and because I've been doing energy work for 20 years now, but it was something that I never talked about because I was, as a teacher, you guys probably understand, there's like everything is minutes, right? So many minutes for math, so many minutes for English. Well, there was no minutes for the social and emotional work, but I knew these kids needed it. So I would teach it every single day, and I would always be asked, do you want to know where you're rated? And I was like, I don't want to know where I'm rated. Like, I just didn't care. But when I moved out from teaching in the normal classroom, I then brought in, I was the first social emotional educator in our district, and then I brought it in and coaching the coaches, and I was told then that my kids, and the only reason I'm telling you this is because it's how important social emotional is that they were at the highest rating, and they were like the kids that they didn't know what to do with them. They're like, they had the ADD, they had these things, they had learning, problems. I'm like, just give them the stuff. She somehow works magic with these kids in a year. But here's the thing, it was the social and emotional learning that I did with them that helped them grow. And so I tell you that because then I went on to moving my business and working with women. And at first it was just doing healing work. But the women that were coming to see me were entrepreneurs, and they were like, Steph, I am doing so well in my business. I wasn't like this isn't necessarily business coaching, but it was the same principles. So the one thing I want you to hear underneath it all is that if we can allow ourselves to take care of ourselves. How many times have we been, as a teacher, that we are just constantly taking care of everybody else but ourselves. Like I always identified with a Mother Teresa energy, right? It's like I'm always giving, 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 and I was depleted. When I left teaching, I was so depleted. Even though I was teaching these practices, I wasn't doing a great job for myself. And when I started doing these practices for myself, putting the oxygen mask on first, that's when my business took off. That's when my clients' business took off. And, one of the things I will say, just in sharing my story, I had my accountant say to me, I think it was 4 years ago, she said, Steph, I'm going to deem your business is going to be deemed as a hobby. And it was like that heart-wrenching feeling because I was giving away my services for free. And I want to speak to you, because if you are out there doing this like I was, I want to just speak to your heart about this, because as a teacher, I was like, again, that give, service. So if someone said, I don't have money for your services, that's okay. I cannot tell you how many times I was giving away my work. Anyone else struggle with that when you took the crossover from teaching to your business, charging what you were worth? And so finally I got really clear, and I'm going to help you with that today. I'm going to teach you some practices to get clear. I got clear about what I was doing, and I had someone ask me this question, and I want to just ask you this question. I'd love for you to sit with this. Stephanie, when you're teaching, what did your practices that you're teaching do for you? And I will never forget this. And some of you are dots, some of you know Mandy McGowan, so I want to give her credit for this. She was the one that said that question to me, and I was bawling. And I'm like, Mandy, it's the reason I'm alive. When I found these practices, I was so sick, I could barely walk my kids down the hallway at that time because I lost my first husband. He was in a car accident, and all that trauma just came in, and I wasn't able to even, like I said, I wasn't able to even walk properly without being medicated because I just literally imploded because I wasn't able to handle the trauma that was in my body. So I say that, when I got clear about that, I was able to charge for my worth. The second thing I did, and we're going to go through this in more detail, is that I got really clear about how important it was to take care of myself. And every day, I still have it on my phone. I literally am going to show you so you can see, like, this is like big time practicing what I preach on my phone, and it's here in the green, and it says, self-care magnifies my success. The more I take care of myself, the more impact I make, and the more income I make. When I made that rule for myself and I said, I will not run my business like I ran teaching, I will not run it where I'm depleting. So here I am teaching women how to be in their flow, work from like overflow instead of depletion. So I had to practice that. So everything that came into me had to align with my mission, my values, and I had to make sure that I was feeding myself first. And I had a huge goal. I was like, wouldn't it be great if I could at least get my teaching salary? And I was like, but wait, I hit that. And I was like, wouldn't it be great if I could actually hit that 6-figure mark? And I'm telling you this because what was so cool, you guys, is that goal came half year. It came like in the middle of the year. There was no push. There was zero push. It was a pull of my heart. So I'm sharing this with you because looking back, and every year that business has grown, because I want us to, as entrepreneurs and the teacher heart, to be able to know that you are so valuable. In fact, I believe as teachers, and maybe I'm a little biased, I think we could all be, I believe that our skill set coming from an educator and moving into business is our strongest superpower that we've ever had. I mean, Megan, I'm going to call you out. I get to work with Megan, and I got to coach her in the school system. I wasn't planning on saying this, Megan, but I have to. And I'm watching her go into she's launching her business. And the skill sets are transferring so beautifully. So I want you to see that. I want you just to take a minute and think about your skill set as a teacher. And not only the skill set of being a great teacher, getting to be able to simplify in order for people to understand, but the heart. What are those qualities about you who you are, at the core of who you are, and how are they transferring into your business? So I want you just to take a moment to think about that. And if you want, I'm really bad about, by the way, I do have ADD. I'm calling myself out on that right now. I have a hard time focusing and looking at the chat. So if you want to share in the chat anything that I will definitely go back and read them. But take a moment and think about that. How are your skills transferring? Because when we look at that skill transfer, one, we can start to have that confidence. I can do this. I can be the best person in my industry because I have the skill set of being an incredible educator. So I really want you to see that and that heart of the matter. So who are you? Your core values. The other thing I want you to think about is your core values. And just take a moment and think about that. What makes you you? Because if we can attach those core values, not to, I want to just share this too, like the boxes of maybe in our educational world of who we were supposed to be in this box, but who can you be outside in your business? How can you let your skill set and your values expand in a way that makes you even better, that makes you even give more impact into the world? That is so important, because I don't know about you, but when I left teaching, like, and I wanted to really share this piece too, that identity piece. Did anybody else struggle with the identity? Like, who am I now if I'm not a teacher? When people ask me what I do, I literally have to take a pause and I'm like, oh my God, how do I say this? Before it was like, I'm a teacher or I'm a, whatever. It was so easy. And now it's a little bit harder because our businesses and just hearing your business, they're so tied into who we are, right? And so is our teacher. So how can you bring in the core of who you are? So think about your 3 top values. You're actually going to be sharing this out in a breakout room after the talk. So for me, I'll share what mine were. So the 2 things that I had to hold on to in order to make that shift was bravery. I was so scared to be able to take that leap going from, at that moment I was like making in the 70s, 70K, 72,000. I was like, where's that money going to come from? And I felt like when I took that leap, I literally felt like I was jumping off a mountain. I didn't know if I was going to have, a parachute coming out, but I had to take the leap. It was that leap of faith. So having that faith over fear, but what I held on to were those values. I knew if I was brave, and I knew if I was authentic, and I knew if I came out with showing that heart of love that I had, that it was all going to work out. So those values are our foundation that we can hold on to. We can come back to who we are. And Lizzie was sharing my bio with you. I call myself a soul alignment specialist now, because it's not that we're getting all these best practices, and we know what best practices are. We've been professional development our whole life, but it's like, we're not just grasping at these things. If we do that, we're going to be spinning. That's what I found. We're going to be spinning. But if you come in from your heart and you get clear of where your direction is from your heart, that's where that's where every single move you make is going to work, because you are coming from the place where you are aligned. So coming from that place, so again, identifying your 3 values. So now the next step is getting clear. But again, it's not getting clear, and this is my opinion, it's not getting clear on doing the best practices, what everybody else says you need to do to build a business. It's getting clear in your heart first. It's not that we're not listening to the experts, but we're taking that information and we're bringing it through our filtration system, which is our heart. So I call this the alignment check-in, and it's really the power of the pause. It's getting still. And I know I feel like I'm speaking to my fellow brothers and sisters in education. Like, we are so used to running around and every kid needing us. And it's like, we need to step back and we need to get still. And we need to ask ourselves, when we build this business, and a lot of you have already been building it, I'm just going to ask you to do I call this like an alignment checkup, like kind of when you take your car in and get it checked up for alignment. We're just going to do an alignment checkup. How are you doing? Is your business aligned to your values? Question number 1. And if it's not, this is the time to bring yourself back. That's all we need to do. Bring yourself back. Second of all, is it aligned to the mission that is aligned to your heartstrings? So I'm just going to pause here and just take you through a very, very quick but powerful practice that helps me come back. So I'm going to ask you just to play along with me. This is what I did with my kids too, and this is what I teach children as well, just to be able to tap into their superpower. So you're just going to take your 2 hands like this, and just bring them to the midline of your heart area. Elbows are at your side, and just close your eyes and take a deep breath in through your nose and out through your mouth. Just really slow. And if you need practice to go slower, you can tap on your fingers. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Inhale and exhale, tapping 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, just so we can help ourselves slow down. Another breath in. Beautiful. And then we're just going to take a few breaths in gratitude, because gratitude is going to raise your vibration. It's going to raise your energy. Think about what you are so grateful now that you're building this business. What makes you so grateful that you get to have this freedom? What are those things? So feel into that and take a deep breath into gratitude. Beautiful. And now I want you just to sit with that, your vision and your mission. What is that? And take a deep breath in, feeling that for yourself. What are you doing in the world? How is it lighting up the world? How are you bringing in your gifts? So feel that as you breathe in. Beautiful. And then I'm just going to ask yourself to give yourself a little hug. This might feel weird, but just notice what it feels like. And then just do really light touches, taps on your right shoulder and your left shoulder and your right and your left. A couple more times. And then you're just going to take your fingertips from your shoulders down your arms. This is called havening. I really think about this igniting your light inside of yourself so you can shine that light out. And we're bringing in that lighthouse, the safety in your body. Beautiful. And then when you're ready, you can open your eyes. So this does two things. One, I said it, nervous system practices is my jam. So if we can run our life and our business through calmness, through our heart, one, you're going to feel better doing it. You're going to feel lit up instead of depleted like we used to feel, or I'll use myself as an example. I used to feel as a teacher. And what you're practicing, what you're going to do as your strategy, it's going to work because you're coming from that place of calmness. So I just want to, just curious, does anybody feel a little bit calmer, centered? Awesome. Beautiful. Beautiful. So it's step one is getting still. Getting still so you can listen to the whispers of your soul. From there, you decide, what is my mission? What is my mission? What is my vision? Whatever you call it. For me, it's to help myself and to help the women I work with to design a life and a business around their soul. I also help children be able to tap into their superpower so they can feel calm. So those are my two missions. So think about, where is my mission? And then from there, anything, and I mean anything, and this was going back to my, that year that I hit that big mark and I continue to hit that, this was huge, you guys. I said yes to only the things that connected to my mission, and no to everything else that did not. And how hard is it? Again, I'm speaking to myself, I'm like, oh, that was so hard to say no to everybody else because I'm always the yes girl, the people pleaser. I'll do anything. But I started just to say yes to my mission, and I had to get really clear that by saying yes to my mission, I had to know it was making an impact in the world. So we have to think about the impact that we make in the world. And if you write anything down, this is the principle I live by: impact equals income. But it has to come from the heart. It has to come from the impact first. And again, I'm speaking to the world's greatest, the heartbeat, right? The teachers here. So you already know how to do that. So if you focus on that mission and you focus on the service and you focus on everybody else but yourself, that's not true. Sorry. You focus on yourself first, you feed yourself, and then you focus on your service. You have to put the oxygen mask on first. So that is the most important thing. And once you do that, it's like a boomerang effect. You're feeding yourself, you're giving back, it's coming back to you. That is the way it works. energetically. Another tip I want to just share with you is authenticity. So now that I've been doing energy work for 20 years, if you can just come in and you can be 100% yourself, bringing your gifts as a teacher, bringing in your values, aligning to that mission, and be I don't go by 100%, 1,000%. My math teachers here, I know, but energetically, it does mean a difference. I want you to go in 1,000% being yourself. That is going to raise your vibration. And guess what happens in that? This is the quantum physics side. It will help you attract the right people. You will be so aligned in your mission that all the right people will be coming to you. So that is authenticity. That's where it's at. So I love this quote about getting clear again on your mission. We want to be working on something that's so exciting, that you really care about, that you don't have to be pushed anymore, that the vision instead is going to pull you. So the last thing I just want to share before I close, an energetic practice that has helped me so much. Even when I left teaching, this is the way I left teaching. I had to look at every decision I made and energetically ask myself, how does my body feel when I think about going back to my classroom? And your body doesn't lie, you guys. The head, 20% of your power comes in your head, 80% in your body. So ask yourself, how do I feel in my body? Let the breath move. When I did this, when I thought about going back to teaching, guess what happened? I literally felt my classroom walls coming in and collapsing. And I was like, I started to feel my body panic. And even though I felt like I had to go back, what's going to happen to the children? I don't know if anybody else saw that. If I leave teaching, I knew I couldn't do it. But when I thought about my business and I thought about everything I could do for women and children, I felt so expanded in my body. So build your business or rebuild your business where you're doing it, or maybe go back in your business. How can I expand it even more where it feels so good? We can either build our business as our boxes in our classrooms that we used to work in, or we can build the most freedom business out there. I mean, I just spent 3 weeks with my mom in Florida. I just spent a week in Mexico, and my business is still thriving because I built it around, one, the results of my clients, and two, I want it to have freedom. So again, coming back to your alignment, what is important for you? What are your values? What are your missions? And the most important thing is getting quiet so you can listen to those whispers of your heart. And if you do that and you come from that place of calmness in your nervous system, you are going to make the biggest difference in not only your life, your family's life, but you're going to make it in every single person's life that you are working with. So those are just my tips and what has helped me the most in my business of running this now for almost 7 years. I literally cannot believe, I want to pinch myself that I am doing a business that feels like the most aligned thing I've ever done in my life. When the school bus goes by and I'm out in the horse pasture working with my client or a group with the horses, I get tears every single time because my classroom has now become my soul school, and it feels so good. So whatever it is for you, design from that place in your heart, and I promise you, you're going to light up yourself and the world so much more. Thank you so much for having me, Lizzie. I'll share with you my contact information. I do have a free toolkit of a nervous system practice that I wasn't able to go through the whole thing with you. So grab that toolkit. It goes through so many different practices, and there's also just ways to connect with me. I'm getting ready to do a retreat at Joyful Journey. I'd love to have you join me just to really get calm so we can really build from that place of power. Thank you.
Oh, Stephanie, I'm so grateful you were our first presenter. Thank you so much. Every time I hear her present, I feel like the world kind of goes zoom, and I just kind of sit in your talk. So thank you so much for presenting for us. I'm so grateful. I feel like there were so many nuggets in that that I'm going to want to hear again and again, that I do want to point out. I'm planning on taking the speaker portion of our presentations and putting them on YouTube. So if you're like, I need to hear that again, especially like as you're getting ready for a big decision, or you want to have it to reflect on, it will be there. That's